Hey everyone, I'm Travis Wright, and you're listening to I'm a Fan Of, your show for music, comedy, and more. As always, if you're a musician, a comedian, or just someone that does something interesting, please reach out to me on Instagram at Travis Can Listen. You can find me on Facebook at I'm a Fan Of, or you can reach out to me through the website at I'mAFanOfPod.com. If you just enjoy the show, please follow me there as well, and like and subscribe to the podcast. This episode is a comic that I'm very excited about. Her name is Bridget Tooley. I've had the opportunity to watch her a few times now. I did a written article about her. If you'd like to go check that out, it's on my Substack, which you can find through the link in my bio on all my social media stuff. But there is a quality about her that I really, really enjoy. She is very different, little strange. And we talk about it too in the interview. You know, her homeschool upbringing, she feels like has given her a lot of social anxiety, makes her feel a little awkward. And I think she is translating a lot of that into her comedy, but in a very fun, different way. And she's fairly new to the comedy game. Which is one of the times I get most excited about finding a comic is when they're fairly new at this. She's been doing it a couple years now. She's pushing it really hard, and I can't wait to see how she grows as a comic because I think she's going to be funnier and funnier and funnier. I mean, she's funny now, but I think it's going to get better and better. So I hope you enjoy this interview with Bridget Tooley, and please go check her out on social media, follow wherever she's at so you can go check out one of her shows in person. But for now, enjoy the interview. The I'm a Fan Of podcast, music, comedy, and more. Bridget Tooley, how are you?
I am good.
I feel like you're nervous, but you're not a nervous person, but you're kind of nervous.
I'm a little bit nervous. I am also a nervous person, but...
Oh my God. How does a nervous person do comedy?
It's a hard life.
Are you nervous on stage?
I used to be very nervous on stage, but...
You don't appear nervous on stage.
Thank you.
Yeah, you appear very confident when you get out there.
Thank you. Yeah. I think I've had to retrain myself because I used to make a lot of nervous movements on stage and stuff like that. So
yeah. Well, and I asked your permission before, but I want to get right into it. I've never known anyone to tell me they were an artificial insemination baby. Is that for real? That's not just for your joke?
I am, in fact, an artificial insemination baby, which means I was very intentional.
Yeah. So any older siblings?
No, I'm the oldest. I have a younger brother.
Were they artificially inseminated as well?
Yes, that is correct.
Oh, well, what was the reason that your parents decided to go that route?
Because my parents were a little bit older when they were trying to get pregnant, and they were having some issues with fertility, so they had to do the whole experience.
Really? When do they tell you about it? Is that like a middle school teenager thing?
I can't remember, honestly.
No way. You can't remember?
I can't remember.
That's such a big conversation.
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't remember how it came up? It was like...
I do not. My dad has always been very, no filter. So, as far as I'm aware, I probably knew since I was, 3. I don't know.
Do you feel any different being a baby created that way?
I do feel special because, like I said, I am definitely intentional. It's not an accident. I'm here for a reason.
Yeah. But there's nothing different about a baby born that way, really, right?
Not really, no.
I'm so stupid. I don't know any of the process.
My dad told me way too much about the process.
Would you share?
Well, he was like, I was looking at my Kate Moss magazines because, I had better quality sperm when I looked at Kate Moss. I was like, I did not need to know that.
Oh, yeah. I guess that's the way it goes, right? He has to go make a donation.
Yeah. And they give you, data on it, how fast the sperm are swimming and, how many sperm there are. It's pretty insane.
Yeah. I wonder. So, because they were older, that was, a safer way to have a child? Was that the idea? Or?
I think they just were struggling to get pregnant the normal way.
I got you. Oh, that's so... I feel like we're going to where that's going to be the way we all have children.
Maybe.
Right? What...
Am I a technologically advanced baby?
Are you?
Baby of the future.
Are your parents very intentional like that? You guys were homeschooled as well? Are they very much I want to control things?
Yes. Yeah definitely.
What's it like growing up like that?
Well, homeschooling particularly, I think there's a lot of pros and cons to it. For example, I didn't have that much of a social life, but I did also have free time to because I was a professional athlete, so I had time to train and travel. And
That's right. You did cyclo-cross?
Yes,
yeah.
I did. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of have to homeschool if you're going to be a professional athlete as well.
For
right?
sure.
What age did you become a professional athlete?
I started racing around 10, but then I became professional. I think I signed my first pro contract when I was 15.
15. Okay. All right. And explain cyclo-cross for people who don't know that.
So it's kind of like a hybrid of road cycling and mountain biking. It's done off-road. but you're not on an off-road bike. And there's a lot of obstacles.
Yeah, it's for crazy people.
Yeah, you have to go upstairs. You have to go like over hurdles and stuff like that. And you get off your bike.
You get a bike that is not made to go off-road.
Basically, yeah.
I've never done any kind of racing or anything, but I love cycling. And I had a gravel bike. I fell for that marketing.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? And it's like, it's just a road bike with like a little bit fatter tire.
Yeah, so gravel bikes are actually very similar to cyclocross bikes.
What's the difference between a cyclocross bike and a gravel bike?
There's not a lot of difference. It's
okay.
basically a scam, yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's not a scam, but it's great marketing, right?
Yeah.
We live near White Rock Lake, so we're around these people who have like the $10,000 bikes, and they're amateurs. They don't do anything. And they are just aggressive people flying around the lake, and we're like on regular hybrid bikes just pulling our kid in a little thing behind. But the cyclocross stuff looks fascinating to me because it's almost like you took cycling and a mud run and combined them.
It is. It's a pretty insane sport. It is very, very physically demanding for sure. Did
you start like mountain biking or road biking first, or just straight into cyclocross?
I actually started with triathlon because I was on swim team first, and then I did triathlons, and then I learned that I can't run seriously because I get injured a lot from running, so I had to just limit it to cycling and swimming, and I decided to go with cycling, and cyclocross is kind of where I found my niche.
Okay. What made you want to do triathlons to begin with?
I think I probably knew some people on swim team who also did it, and I was like, that's cool, I want to try it.
You said this was all when you were like 10 years old?
When I was like 9 or 10, so 10? I don't remember the thought process all that clearly. But
how are y'all getting into all this, though? Because if you're homeschooled, you're not doing school sports.
Yeah.
So who was it in your family that's pushing you towards that?
I think my parents wanted to make sure we at least had some sort of like social interaction, and because my parents were both athletes to some degree, like in high school and stuff, so they kind of... I started out as a tennis player when I was like 5, so I don't even remember starting.
They got you out there early.
Yeah, and then I started swim team when I was like 7, so I honestly don't really remember the decision-making process that well.
Your memory is very poor.
Yeah, I've just remembered doing sports for my whole life, so I don't really remember like getting into it specifically.
See, I grew up in a small town, and everybody played every sport, right? Like, and so it's the same way. It's like I don't really remember the first like time going on a field or like making a decision to do it. It's just you played sports all the time.
Yeah,
and so now, it seems weird when you meet people who weren't forced to do those things. Does that make sense? Like, have you ever met someone who just never, ever played sports of any kind?
I'm like, what?
It feels very different, right? And our son, he's 3, and we're already thinking about, like, what age are we going to start putting him in stuff? Because I want him to be into sports. And I say that as somebody, like, I don't watch sports. I don't care about it. I just want, like, a little bit of that competitive nature.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I think sports are great. Like, it's... Even though it's a very different type of performance to what I do now, it's still like the pressure of like, I obviously competed at very high level races, but like the pressure to perform, it does translate in like other aspects of life, and teaching yourself to do something and working hard at it and training every day.
I tried talking to my sister about it. My sister, she's a runner. Like, she is a runner. She does it very well. Like, she's sponsored by Brooks, and she won't do a marathon with me. And I am like she's in way better shape than me. And I was trying to tell her how much of it is the mental part, of like, obviously when you're competing on your level, there's a lot of physical stuff. But like when you're an amateur on my level, it's really just like, are you going to push yourself and get through it?
Yeah.
And she never played sports growing up. And I feel like she can't grasp that concept of like, this is going to suck. You're just going to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
the mental part is a huge part of it. Yeah.
How long is a cyclocross race? They're shorter events. They're just grueling, right?
40 to 60 minutes, depending on the race.
Okay. And you were, I was stalking a little bit, but like, you were on Team USA?
Yes, I did do a couple races for Team USA. They would like fund Europe camps, so like they would send, because Europe cycling is huge, so it's not as big in the US, so it's important for US racers to kind of go get used to the environment in Europe. So they would send a couple racers each year, and I got to go like 3 times, I think. So that was pretty cool.
You say it so nonchalantly.
Yeah,
you're like, of course, I just got on the USA team, went to Europe. I was just an ambassador for the United States of America's cycling team.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So how many years in total were you doing cyclocross professionally?
Professionally, 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
Wow. And why not anymore?
It's, like I said, it's a very physically demanding sport with like a ton of training. And not a whole lot of like opportunities to make it a career. Like you don't get paid a lot for it.
Like the sponsorships aren't there yet?
Yeah, there's a couple of people in the United States who are maybe doing it full time. But other than that, like you have to also work a job on top of all of this training. And then I started doing comedy and stuff too. And I was like, I don't know.
So you started doing comedy while you were still doing cyclocross?
There was about a year where I was doing both. It was pretty
You know what's so funny
insane.
is you're like, it's hard to make money in cyclocross.
Let me
I'll
do
go
comedy.
to comedy.
True.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, what do you think the people who are actually making money in cyclocross are making? What do you think no money is when you're at they're the top elite people who you're saying are like they can do it for a living? Do you think that's like 6 figures or less?
Probably less than that.
Probably less.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult. All the people who like were winning national championships like also have another job as far as I
That's crazy.
know.
What do you think keeps the sport from being more popular where they can make money?
I don't know. I think it has some marketing issues. Like a lot of people have never heard of cyclocross. It's a really cool sport, and I think a lot of people would enjoy watching it, but it's so like European centric that the U.S. It hasn't really found its market in the U.S.
Yeah. Well, in cycling here, even though it's come so far, there's still that stigma, right? It's like, get off the road, get out of the way.
For sure, there's definitely some people who think like cyclists are dorks or they're
I love cycling so much. The only event I've ever done was a 40-mile ride, and that was really fun. And now that I have another bike, I want to do it again. But it was so like, well, I guess your rides were shorter though. If you're riding for like 40 minutes, how much ground are y'all covering in that?
I don't know because I didn't really track miles because the races are by time.
Is it done in laps, or is it like you start here and end here?
You do laps for cyclocross, but there's other types of racing where it is like one big loop or a start and finish point. But cyclocross specifically is laps.
Yeah. So no money and you were getting injured?
I luckily got out of cycling without any serious injuries, which is another reason I got out of it because so many people I know have had multiple concussions or broken collarbones, broken elbows, stuff like I did break an elbow at one point, but
You're like, I got out with no injuries. I just broke my elbow.
well, it wasn't anything like long term. Like
Yeah.
I know somebody who got paralyzed from the neck down, and it's like
Jeez.
that was just something I didn't want to risk anymore.
Yeah. Are you clipped in when you're on those?
Yep. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. You have to be, or else don't have like the same amount of power you can put down.
But seriously, that's insane because you're going up like, I wish I could pull up video and like show it because the obstacles that you're going over are nuts.
Yeah.
Like, let me ask you this. The people who are doing it professionally, how many of them like stop and carry the bike over an obstacle?
It depends on the obstacle.
So that does happen on the pro level still?
Yeah, for sure. I was somebody who
Are you like scoffing at the people that do that? Or are you like, come on, man?
It depends. Sometimes it's actually faster to get off and run things.
Yeah.
But I kind of made it my like specialty where I could like stay on my bike for a lot of those features. And that was something I was kind of known for. But yeah, even
right then,
level,
I just saw a little bit of like the competitive nature go back to you. I'm like, that was kind of something I was known for.
I was kind of famous in the cyclocross world.
Were you intense when you were riding?
Yeah. You definitely get in a mindset that's very competitive, almost to a fault, where you start just like.
How so?
I'm definitely still like an extremely competitive person, and like comparing myself to other people, which especially in comedy is so hard. I'm like,
so
why did this
horrible.
person get on this show? Why is this person hosting at this place and not me? Like it's that attitude has kind of like stayed with me in other parts of life, which can be good, but also can be bad sometimes.
I don't know. I get really excited when I see comics like yourself that have backgrounds and things like that, because those are levels of success that a lot of comics don't get, right? A lot of comics drift to comedy because it's like the land of misfit toys, right? It's like they couldn't find that thing they were into. They couldn't find that thing they were good at. They felt insecure and out of place. And so they're like, oh, this is comedy. So when I see people who are capable of achieving things get into comedy and they don't have like that chip on their shoulder, it kind of makes me excited because it's like, you know how to get things if you want to get them, right? Like you know how to compete. So you know, if I need to do this, I just need to put in this amount of effort, this amount of hours, this amount of reps, and I can get there. And I feel like that gives you a little bit of an edge, don't you?
Yeah, for sure. I think the main difference with comedy is that, yes, there's a lot of like hard work and stuff like that involved, but there's also more of a luck factor that there's not necessarily in sports. Because in sports, it's just like whoever crosses the line first or second or third.
There's still a little luck in sports, though,
There
right?
is, yeah. For like getting selected for teams and like how the race goes, there is some, but I feel like with comedy, it's a little bit more things are more out of my control, I feel.
Interesting. Like what? Like what kind of things do you wish you could control more?
Like, how many shows you get on in a given month, or, what kind of shows, how they're paying, stuff like that.
Do you know Palos Farrell?
Yeah.
He was just explaining that to me a couple episodes ago. It never dawned on me, like your cyclocross stuff, right? You can kind of practice that whenever you want. You can get on a bike and just go. And he was explaining that, with comedy, he's like, you might only get 5 minutes of practice, on stage, and you might only get that 2 or 3 times a week. So you only really get to practice at it, 15 minutes a week maybe when you're starting out.
Yeah.
And how do you prepare then? Because how long have you been performing so far? You're fairly new to comedy, right?
A little over 2 years.
2 years. Okay. So knowing it's harder for you to get stage time right now, how do you write your material and kind of maybe practice it, I guess would be a good way to say it.
I would say I do a combination of like writing it like just on a laptop and writing on stage. Like I will kind of have a premise and some idea, and then I kind of work it out through various open mics and like, oh, the way I said that worked really well. I'm going to keep that. Mm-hmm. So I'd say it's a combination of like writing and going to open mics and performing it.
How does your writing change once you go to an open mic?
Well, I always record my sets. I don't listen to them back as much as I should.
Why not?
Because I hate listening to myself. I hate it.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'll listen back and be like, ooh, there's a long time where I didn't get any laughs there. Like, can I cut that down? Stuff like that. Yeah,
you gotta
long
listen to
process.
Yourself.
You do.
It's brutal.
I hate it.
It's brutal.
I hate it so much.
I secretly record so many shows that I go to just so that I can listen to them again before I like talk to people or write about them or whatever. And it's always awkward because a lot of the comics I love to go see, like the show I got to go watch you at most recently was at DCC in that small room. And I like DCC a lot. But that particular night, it's like there was just hardly any crowd.
There was. It was a late show, too.
Yeah. And it's like, do you remember in that room when there's not a lot of people in there, it's like you can hear the AC kick on.
Yeah.
And it's like,
thank you, AC.
Yeah, and it's so like, it almost becomes funny how awkward that room is when there's only a few people in it.
For sure.
And my favorite part was the sound person trying to like get the laughs going. I don't know. Did you catch that on stage?
She was like the only one that was like laughing the whole time. I was like, I love you.
No, there were people laughing.
There were, but
it was very.
She was the most obvious one.
Yeah, it was very much that like, ha, let's get it going. But yeah, well, what is your favorite setting to perform in right now? When you're 2 years in, yeah, like size room, like what kind of comedy room do you like going into at the moment? Because you probably have like 5 to 10 minutes of material that you trust, that you like. I probably have like 30 I could do. I don't know if it would be as I have like a 15 that I'm like, or 20 that I'm like, this is good. Yeah.
Then I could like reach for other material and stretch it out. But
yeah.
I'm biased because I work there, but my favorite place to perform is definitely the Comedy Arena.
Oh, you work out there?
I do work there.
I love that spot. It's
I love it too.
I'm admittedly like a little bit of a Dallas snob, so going like north of 635, I'm always overly dramatic. I'm going to Oklahoma. But I love that spot up there. I went up to watch Michael Pasvar and Emily Griefer up there a while back. And it was great. And I love that that area is like popping off more. Like they're making their own little scene up there.
For sure.
Yeah. How long have you been working there?
About a year.
A
little more maybe. Yeah. I do improv there too, so.
Oh, so you're doing improv
I'm there
also?
all the time. Yeah. I've been doing improv for around 2 years also.
You're just going full in on comedy.
Yeah, just doing all the comedy things.
Which one have you been liking more so far?
That's tough. Improv is almost more like chill and more fun to me. Stand-up is a little bit more like high pressure and stressful at times. But they both have a good payoff to me. I don't know. It's hard to say which one I like more.
Yeah. Which one do you do more of?
Probably stand-up.
Stand-up? Yeah.
I actually don't know. Because I'm in 2 improv troupes and take improv classes. But yeah, it's hard to tell. It depends like month to month on how much I'm doing stand-up and how much I'm doing improv.
Yeah, that's interesting. Where's the improv at? Is it mostly Comedy Arena as well?
I mostly do it at Comedy Arena now. I used to take a lot of classes at Stomping Ground, but that's further for me, so started doing Comedy Arena. I
love what improv produces, like long term. Like I know it's responsible for things like all the sketch comedy that I love, like those people building their chops. But I have such a hard time going to watch improv shows now. You know, like I had several friends who did the Dallas Comedy House classes back in the day before it was Dallas Comedy Club. And so we went to a lot of those, like, you know how you graduate a class and they do a show?
Yeah.
It was that kind of stuff, you know, and you're just like, oh. What is the best version of improv for you?
I don't know. I've seen some really good improv shows at the Comedy Arena.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've watched one.
Yeah.
I
Obviously,
feel
we
guilty.
have Comedy Sports every weekend that I've seen a lot of times.
What's Comedy Sports?
It's a short form improv show, and it's kind of like styled like a sports game. Like there's a red team and a blue team, and the referee kind of hosts it, and they compete against each other for the win.
I'm noticing a trend with the competition stuff that you do.
Yeah, it's very dramatic.
You can't shake it out.
But I've seen some really good improv there. Recently, I saw Kyle Austin and Terry Catlett do like a 2-person long-form improv show, and it was so good. They were both so funny, and they really did a great job of like building the scene to the point where you're like actually invested in it. And yeah, it was really cool because it was just the two of them.
But what makes it cool? What did you like about it?
I think it's just the thing that's cool about improv to me is how like just in the moment it is. Like that moment is not repeatable. It's just like this is a one-time thing. I don't know. I think it's kind of a beautiful thing about improv.
Do you feel like you enjoy a big laugh at improv more than a big laugh in comedy? And stand-up, I mean? That
depends, because improv, it's hard to retrain your brain, because with stand-up, you're always trying to go for laughs. And with improv, you don't want to try to be funny.
Wait, what now?
You don't try to be funny, because that's how you kill a scene.
Okay.
By twisting it and doing like a punchline. Then your other players are like, okay, thank you.
So what do you
for
try to
messing
do?
up the scene. The funny just kind of happens. You just kind of build it when you learn improv skills.
Give me an example, though. Give me something to go with here. All I know about improv is you're supposed to always say yes and never say no.
That's not necessarily true.
I don't know anything about it.
Improv is complicated. But basically with yes and, you're wanting to add on to what the other person is doing till you build a scene. But a lot of times, like, my stand-up brain wants to have a twist and a punchline, right? So, like, if someone says, look at that dog over there, I want to be like, that's not a dog, that's a dragon. Twist, that's so funny.
And they say, don't do that?
That was a really bad example.
Yeah.
You get the point, right? Like,
no, not really.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not getting it
How
still.
can I explain this better? But usually the funniest scenes are ones that are just slowly built up from each player.
Can you teach me how to slowly build a scene right now?
No.
No?
I'm not good at teaching things.
Oh my God. I'm quick though. I'm quick. I can do it.
A lot of times trying to be funny in improv doesn't go well because you can tell that they're trying to be funny. Whereas with stand-up, you can kind of, the whole point is to try to be funny.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to explain.
Yeah, but your stand-up style, from my experience anyway, is... I really like it. I'm going to preface it with that.
Thank you.
I really like it because I feel like you're going to have people so on the fence whether or not they want to laugh at some of your material. Does that make sense? Does that resonate with you a little bit? Like, I don't want it to sound insulting, but it's so... Some of it is so jarring in a very fun way that's what I love about it. Because I've gone to so many comedy shows now, I get so bored with hearing some of the same premises.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you come out and you're like, so there's a phallus museum. Where is it at, by the way?
Iceland.
And then premises of like Googling which mammal has the most ejaculate.
Yeah.
You just giggled again about it.
I don't know if it's like from being homeschooled that I
Yeah.
just like spent so much time like with unlimited access to the internet and just like researching weird things.
Yeah, but I mean, I love that because it's like, gosh, how many more times can I hear, like an airline joke or like,
dating's hard,
oh
am I
my
right?
God. Uber.
Who's on the apps?
It's so fucking boring.
Yeah.
And, but then like, I almost feel like that DCC show, for instance, it's like, the room kind of doesn't know what to think of you at first when you start pulling that out.
For sure.
But I feel like they settle in pretty fast. Like, I think if you get Have you had the opportunity to do many like 30-minute sets or anything longer like that?
I've done 20 a few times, but I haven't done more than 20.
Do you feel like they settled in more on the 20?
For
like they
sure.
start to really get you a little bit more?
Yeah, they're like, I see what, like they kind of understand what to expect from me, because sometimes I just come out and like hit people over the head with something really bizarre and they're like, what are you talking about?
But it's not shock value either. You know what I mean? Like it's just truly like, what did she say? What was that just came out? When did you decide to kind of go for that? Well, did you ever think about how you were going to perform as a stand-up in terms of, like, I want to do material like this? Or was that natural for you to just kind of go that lane of topics?
I think that's just kind of how I naturally
Is that how you normally talk in real life? Because that's how I want you to talk in real life.
Maybe that. I feel like I know a lot of weird facts that I just spout in real life, too.
Like what? What's one of your favorite weird facts?
I didn't expect to be put on the spot like this.
Oh, come on. No way. If you were just hanging out.
Okay, I have one. Did you know that strawberries aren't actually berries?
What are they?
They're not berries. Avocados are berries.
Avocados are berries?
Yeah, so are bananas.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Where do you get this information,
Wikipedia.
First of all? Wikipedia, yeah.
Botanically speaking, strawberries are not berries.
Has ChatGPT just like opened your world up now?
I have not used ChatGPT.
You haven't used it?
No.
Oh my God, you would fucking love it.
Would I?
Yeah, I mean, do you know what it is? Do you
It's
know
like
the premise?
AI, right?
It's AI. So it's like Google that you can have a conversation with. So your answers can get your questions can get a little more. Google's just going to bring you the list.
Yeah.
It's literally like you're typing it out, and then it's typing you back a conversation.
Yeah.
It's way more interesting.
I've heard of it. I think I'm a little too scared of AI to engage with it.
You're scared of it?
I don't want them to know anything about me.
Man, I'm on the other end. I want it to come on. Like, bring it on. I just want them to be nice to me.
Get on their side.
Can I tell you, when I'm using ChatGPT, I still say, like, please and thank you. Because I'm worried it's like...
Hello, sir.
Yeah, I'm worried it's like keeping score. Do you get worried about AI?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I just think it's taking over a little bit too many things.
I think we're going to stop it.
No, we're not.
I mean, I think we're going to have to merge with it.
Merge with it.
Yeah, I think so. Think about like Paul Smith. You know Paul Smith,
Yeah.
right? Paul Smith has a hip replacement, and he's going to need another one soon, right? That's early, it's not AI, but that's early, cyborg. He's got a fake piece in him that makes him work now. And then you have pacemakers. I think my father-in-law has a mechanical cornea or something. It's a fake lens in his eye. And so it's we're already merging with it. Just bring what was one of the things that was most sore when you were doing cyclocross? Legs, right?
Yeah.
So let's say you got a horrible leg injury, and they're look, we can put a plate on the leg, we can fix your ACL, or we can give you this badass robot leg.
Yeah.
What would you take?
Probably the robot leg.
Do the robot leg, right? And so I think we just start merging with it.
Yeah.
We just go for it. And I want to live for 400 years and just see how weird it gets.
You would want to live for 400 years?
If I could live in good health, if I lose an arm and they can plug one back in, I think so.
Eventually become full robot.
Yeah, that's the question then, right? It's when do you stop becoming you?
Yeah.
Right? Is it just your brain or...
This is a very existential conversation.
This is all I think about right now. I think about it with my son, if I could live 300 years, then I could spend 300 years with him.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
But, it's if you believe if Earth's not going to make it, if climate change and things becomes horrible, then do you want to live in that world 300 years from now?
Probably not.
Maybe. What if we go to other planets, though?
That's true.
How far are you willing to go with merging with AI, I guess is my question.
I don't know. I'm not prepared to answer that.
Yeah, but if they came out right now and they're look, it's way further along than we thought. You're going to have to make some choices right now. It's taking over.
It's taking over.
It's taking over.
I don't know.
When we leave the studio, you can try to go out there in this Mad Max AI world, or you can be a dog for an AI robot.
I would probably just join the AI world.
Right? I would make a great pet. If I could live a great life the way my dog lives a great life with me, that'd be all right.
As long as they're not trying to kill us.
I think they're going to be friendly.
You do?
You don't? You clearly don't.
I don't know. I'm very pessimistic, so.
Well, what's your gut tell you? Where's it all going?
I feel like they're gonna destroy humans.
Really?
I don't have any logical evidence to back that.
I mean, every time a more advanced thing finds a less advanced thing, they usually enslave it.
Yeah.
So you're not far off. But you really think they'll destroy us?
Yeah.
How much have you Googled this?
Not that much, actually.
What's your favorite thing when you sit down to Google? Like, what is your go-to?
I don't know.
Do you still do that obsessive searching for those things now?
Sometimes. I don't know how I get off on these tangents sometimes. I'll just be like, why am I researching this? Anyways, I'm going to keep going. Like, I don't know how I end up on these weird things.
You just blank
I
out.
really don't know.
Yeah. What's the wildest thing you remember looking up?
Probably the whale bit that I have. I was like,
You're like, how did I get here?
I should be writing this down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you feel like that's fun or weird to do that?
Both. Some
Yeah.
of both.
Yeah.
It is fun to like learn random useless facts about things, but it's weird also.
Yeah. It's I think it's interesting that the moment I hear your set talking about those things, that I start getting like social media advertisements for it.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that all of a sudden I'm getting that museum in my feed.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the part of AI that I think I'm excited about. Like I'm not going to have to think that much anymore.
Yeah.
It's just going to do
you
it
just
for
get
me.
everything handed to you.
Yeah.
That's the problem with it though. It's like doing too much for people.
But it's doing the stuff I don't want to do.
It's true.
Right? Well, what do you think is too much? What do you think humans should have to do?
I don't know. I don't know where that line is.
Right?
Isn't there like a McDonald's or something that's fully run by like
Sure.
machines? I think there's one.
Well, what do you think about that?
But it's like, I mean, not that anyone was probably dying to work at that McDonald's,
Yeah.
but now nobody can work at that McDonald's.
I used to hate the self-checkouts.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck this. Like, you guys make money. Like, I shouldn't have to do the work. You should have to do this. You should hire people and give people jobs. And now I'm like, for the love of God, just let me do self-checkout. Like, I don't want to talk to anybody.
I always
don't-
go straight for self-checkout.
Yeah. So that's like the McDonald's. Like, you're just doing self-checkout McDonald's.
Yeah. I
And-
was at Dunkin' Donuts the other day and there was like a cashier standing there and then there was one of those like kiosk things to order from.
Yeah.
I just like immediately turned to order from the thing. I'm like, I don't want to talk to anybody.
We went to a restaurant one day and we were like, can we order right here with you? And they're like, no, you have to order over there. I was like, okay. And then we ordered and then they came and verified our order and then went back and did it. It's like, well, you're way younger than me though. Have you seen the movie Idiocracy?
I have.
Okay.
I love that movie.
I just think that's where we're headed.
I do too.
And that's why I think like AI and all this stuff, it's not going to have any competition with us because we're fucking stupid.
True.
Don't you? I mean,
Yeah.
Like, did you know Crocs were, they started in that movie Idiocracy?
Really?
They needed a shoe that was going to be cheap and easy to make that looked like a dumb shoe that people wouldn't wear for the prisoners to wear. So if you rewatch Idiocracy, they're wearing Crocs. And then the brand took off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now people wear Crocs all the time.
There's accessories for Crocs.
Yeah.
Have you seen all the shit people clip on them?
I have.
We had a real argument in my house when my wife bought my son Crocs.
My parents used to buy me Crocs when I was like a little kid, but I don't wear them anymore because I'm like, they look stupid.
They look really stupid. Yeah, but Idiocracy, like, first of all, how did you hear about this movie? Because most people your age are like, I've never heard of this.
I've watched a lot of older movies.
Mm-hmm.
My parents used to be very in the film industry. Like my mom went to film school and stuff. So I've seen a lot of older movies, mostly because of my parents.
Yeah. Your parents sound really cool, by the way.
Yeah.
Are they cool or are they not cool?
They've got their pros and cons.
I mean, they sound pretty fun.
Yeah. I mean, they've pushed me into like cool things like, you know, being an athlete, getting into entertainment, even stand-up was like, I wanted to act and then I like started auditioning for plays and I was like, this sucks. I'm not getting any good parts.
Oh.
And then my mom's like, I used to do stand-up for a little bit. Why don't you try stand-up?
So you started doing plays first?
I didn't actually start doing them. I just started auditioning
Auditioning.
for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I turned down all the roles because I didn't really get anything that was worth.
What made you go that route to start with?
I've always liked musicals and always liked theater. So I was just like, I want to try this. There's not really any deeper story to that.
Didn't you just do, was it the Vagina Monologues?
Yeah.
How was that?
I directed that. It was
Did you direct and perform or just direct?
I performed a little bit, but mostly I was directing. And then I've done a few other plays before that one. But
yeah.
Taking a little bit of a break from theater because it's a lot.
What do you mean it's a lot?
It's just like the constant rehearsals and tech week and, like 9 shows. And it's a lot.
9 shows spaced out over how
3
long?
weeks
3
usually.
weeks. Oh, okay. What was your favorite part about directing, though?
Because
when you said you directed it, it looked like you were having a little bit of like PTSD from it.
No, there's just drama that happened with that show. But
Oh, okay.
My favorite part about directing was that I've never really been in a position where I got to be like in charge of something and like kind of having my vision just be like, I want this done this way, and then seeing it like actually work and look good. And
so when it's a show like that show's run for a long time, right?
For sure. It was written in like the 90s.
So what, when you direct it, like it's been done for that long. What are you thinking is your vision when you're going into it? Like, I'm going to do it this way, or like how are you saying, I guess what I'm saying is with something like that, is there not kind of a recipe of how it's typically done?
Not with that show because of the nature of it, because there's been a lot of those monologues that they've added over the years. So most productions kind of pick and choose which monologues they do, and there's not really like a clear-cut way to do it, which is why it was cool to direct it, because I got to have a lot of creative input. And I started watching productions of it on YouTube, and they all sucked. So I was like, I just want to not do this.
Yeah. What was your version of it? How did you direct it to where it was going to be different than that?
I incorporated other actors as much as possible because it's monologues mostly. So I tried to make it more like a show and less like, a feminist lecture like most of them look. But I want it to be an entertaining show, and yeah, I'm proud of what I ended up coming up with. But
What did you end up coming up with, though? Like, what was your version?
I can't really explain it.
Come on, you're killing me, Smalls.
Just see it.
How many different actors did you have?
Well, I had like 15 because I double casted some of the roles, so that like in case one actor got sick, I would have a backup who also knows the role. But yeah, I think in each show there's only probably about 9.
Well, how did you like directing 9 people?
It was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot, especially an all-female cast. They get emotional and
oh my God, did you really just say that?
Don't cancel me. Women get emotional. Hot take.
No, just being in charge of anyone is really weird, isn't it? And it's like you become the not necessarily the enemy, but like it's harder to be the friend now when you're making decisions and people disagree with you.
For sure.
Yeah. And it sounds like you had your fair share of drama with it going on.
I did, and especially being younger than everyone in the cast.
Ooh, yeah, that's another
Some
dynamic.
people didn't, I feel like, respect my authority because they were like, oh, you're 15 years younger than me. Why should I listen to you? I'm like, that doesn't mean I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, how did the decision get made that you were going to be a director anyway?
So
do you audition for that as well, or how does that work?
I did not. I had done several shows at that theater before and kind of gotten a good reputation for being able to, be responsible and pull off these performances. And they needed a director for Vagina Monologues, and I was just asked if I could do it. And I was like, sure, why not?
Yeah. So you had some seniority then. You had some history with it.
Yeah, for sure. I wasn't like some complete,
Yeah.
newbie doing it. I was probably newer to it than some people were, but that didn't mean I didn't know what I was doing, and that didn't mean that I didn't have a vision for the show.
Yeah. I struggle to work with other people like that. You know what I mean? I have very specific ways that I like stuff to go, and it's taken me years and years and years to learn how to, like, even just take other people's suggestions, right? Like, because you have your way that you want to do something, and so it's like years ago when I was more immature about it, any suggestion almost seems like it was an attack on your plan.
Yeah.
Right? And that's just pure immaturity. And then it's taken me so much to like let that go and hear suggestions and realize like, man, if you just go with the flow, a lot of times you get really good ideas out of it.
Yeah.
But it's so hard. And then especially just with the artists. Like my background's in music, so it was all musical stuff that we would have arguments about. But people are so passionate about their stuff.
Yeah.
That if you tell somebody no, it's almost like you said, I hate you.
Yeah. That was hard about directing is I struggled to give people notes because it was hard for me to be like, I don't like that. Do something else.
I was going to ask, do you come in? You don't seem like the type to come in and be like assertive and like here's what we're doing.
Yeah. I think it's this like social anxiety I have from like being homeschooled. I didn't like have a lot of social interaction, especially like being in a leadership position was very different for me. It's something I kind of learned throughout the process. I got better at asserting myself, but it was very hard at first. I was like, how do I tell this person I don't like this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you don't want to, like, it's so easy for people to just be like, oh, she's a bitch.
Yeah, exactly. Even though I'm the leader, like, I still want them to like me.
Yeah. Well, and it's all supposed to be fun. It's a show, right? It's
exactly,
not that serious. Did you find your style of directing as you went through it, or was it still kind of...
I think I did, yeah. It took a little bit of time because I'd never done it before, but yeah, throughout the process, I kind of figured out how to do it.
What would you have done differently now that you're on the other side of it?
A lot of things.
Yeah?
I probably would have taken on a few other cute crew members. Crew members to help me out a little bit. And,
like what?
Probably just, I don't know, somebody like an assistant director or someone to help manage the people. And I would have maybe... community theater is hard because there's a lot of things that the actors are responsible for that maybe some people more used to a professional environment wouldn't be used to. So I probably should have been more clear about some things about how community theater works up front. But yeah, there's a lot of drama.
Were there people who didn't understand that coming into it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I can see how that'd be a huge problem.
It's like, it's not a professional show, guys. I did tell people they weren't going to get paid, but whatever.
Well, I mean, and I just assumed, where was this being performed at?
The Art Center Theater in Plano.
Okay. So were they under the impression that they were going to get paid for this?
No, they weren't.
Okay.
It was just dramatic. There's a lot of dramatic things about it.
Well, yeah, it's theater, right?
Yeah, true. Very true.
Oh, man. I love putting things together like that. Like one of the things I really want to get into more of is filming. I don't know exactly how I want to do it, but like I would love to make comedy specials that are a little different than the standard comedy special.
Yeah.
But I don't quite know what that is yet, and that's going to require a lot of what you just went through where you're making those big decisions. And one of the things I don't quite know how I'm going to get through is like if I find a comic that I really enjoy and I'm like, listen, I want to record a thing with you. And it's like, I'll do all the work, but I don't want to do it the way you're thinking of, which is how every comedy special is done. Because, you know how long it takes to get that material together and that you're going to burn it on this recording, right?
Yeah.
Well, what if this guy's new plan of how he wants to do it is really going to suck?
Yeah.
And you're sitting here telling this artist, like, just trust me, man. Just trust me.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You know what I mean? Like you were talking about how you had a different vision for that stuff. It's like, I feel like so much stuff is just recycled that I want to take more chances with things.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with like the unlimited amounts of content that are out in the world.
Yeah.
Now
why not
it's
get
like
a little weird with it.
You see so much of the same stuff over and over again.
Do you know Jared Carmichael?
No, I don't.
He's much more famous guy. Bo Burnham directed his special, and it was called 8, just the number 8. And it was done so well. It was done like it was almost more like a movie than it was a stand-up special. It was very cinematic. Like, you know how most specials, like people come out and it's like big claps and they're coming on stage and, hey, we're going to party. His had none of that. It has this weird, like, long scene where he's like sitting alone on his phone, getting ready to go out, and then it just cuts to him, totally silent, just like waiting to tell a joke. And it's like super awkward and uncomfortable. But a lot of his material was very awkward and uncomfortable. So I felt like Bo Burnham like just hit this great stride of like he made it cinematically as awkward and uncomfortable as a lot of the material was.
Yeah.
But it was still funny. Just the way it's shot, And I think a lot about it. It's like your material that you're doing. It's like if you had that polished where you were ready to put it on a set, it's like it doesn't feel like it should be shot with a regular like, we're going to do a little multicam, like bring the lights up, everyone cheer, we're having a lovely time. Like something about it needs to match your energy on stage.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
You know what I mean? And I think that's what I find really interesting about your stand-up is I feel like there's a piece missing to it yet that you just haven't found yet. Did you get that at all?
Yeah, I kind of feel that too.
I know your topics are very funny, and I like the way you set them up, and I think they're very funny. But it almost feels like we need to find like a different. I don't even know how to describe it because I don't want to say it where it's like you don't belong. Like you know what I mean? But it feels like there's a piece to it that, like, have you seen how like Hassan Minhaj did his stand up?
Yeah.
Where he like had a projector and he was able to like add elements to it.
Yeah.
It's something like that where it's like, because some of your stuff is so. I think the biggest struggle you're having right now is that only being able to get like 5 or 10 minutes on the stage. Mm-hmm. Your stuff, I feel like you could dive into way deeper than you get to right now.
Yeah. I think a lot of times, like, I have material that takes a while to set up because I need to explain everything and then do the jokes about it. And, like, I see what you mean about, like, if I had, like, a PowerPoint presentation and be like, all right,
yeah, like
red pandas.
Yeah, I don't know if it's exactly that, but it's like, it almost feels like you could add things to it that haven't been added in stand-up before to, like, further express that
yeah,
point.
I get what you're saying.
But I don't know. Do you find it hard to condense your stuff down?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I ramble sometimes about things, but yeah, it's hard because like the red panda bit I was just talking about, there's like, it's so like specific. I need to set up like all the information about it before I start doing the punchlines. But I'm like, how do I get all this across to people in a funny way?
That's tough, yeah. So do you think about like I should shorten it or I should try to add little punchlines on the way there?
It's hard to tell because I don't know. I do need to say the things to set up the joke, but
have you talked to other comics about it? Because I will, like, I'm not a comic.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do they say?
It depends on the joke. Some of them I've really like gotten better at adding a bunch of punchlines leading up to it too. So it's not just like long setup then punchlines. But yeah.
But sometimes long setup. I'm trying to think. There are comics out there who have those really long setups.
Yeah, sometimes it's worth
and it pays off big, right?
For sure.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm interested to see how you grow even more over like the next year because you're going to find it, whatever it is. You know, like I don't think you're going to have any issue with it. But I'm very curious to see like a year from now how it's morphed in terms of your set.
Yeah.
When you first started, what did you jump in with that type of material or was it? Do you remember like the first couple jokes you wrote?
I do.
Anything close to what you're doing now?
I do use a couple of jokes from like my very first open mic. Just like they've changed a lot. Like my homeschool joke. Mm-hmm. I had some of those same punchlines in the first set I ever did.
Is this about the one about like the swim team?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I had the like cafeteria line and the dodgeball line were like still there.
Yeah.
When I first did an open mic. And my praying mantis joke. I don't know if you heard that one or not.
Oh, yes. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, that one I had in some sort of form in my first open mic, but it's changed and evolved a lot.
Yeah.
But like the premise was still there. But the rest of the stuff I don't think I really use.
That's
I talked
fun.
about
So
my cats a lot.
You've kind of known the personality you wanted to bring on stage right from the start then.
Yeah, I think I've always kind of had that like I don't know if it's like the homeschool, like being a little bit weird and not connected.
Do you feel like the homeschool is always the thing you wear with you?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's affected how I interact with people, like socially, and how my brain thinks. Like,
I mean, yeah, I would agree. Were you homeschooled all the way through till like 12th grade, or?
My parents pulled me out of public school when I was like 7, and then I was homeschooled.
Gotcha.
All the way.
Okay, so from 7 all the way through high school.
Yeah.
Okay. Any college?
I'm starting college this summer, actually. So
okay.
I'm just starting at Collin College to get my gen eds out of the way. But.
Yeah. Well, I mean, did you think you were socially awkward, like as a teenager?
Yes.
Okay.
I could feel it like when
But you were doing these social things. You were
yeah,
in sports.
for sure.
Yeah.
But I did feel a little bit socially awkward and not because like it's weird that you don't talk to people who aren't your family that much when you're homeschooled. Like,
I think I know a lot of homeschooled people just over the years, and it's so funny because I feel like you guys think about yourselves as being homeschooled kids, and I just think like, oh, they were homeschooled, and then boom, I never think about it again. But it feels like y'all think about it a lot.
It is wildly different to what most people have experienced, though, when you think about it, because most people are in this like institution. That sounded weird. Institution for like, 12 years more if you go into college. And it's like, you just kind of grow up with every day you wake up, you go to school, you come back. And it's like, when you're homeschooled, you don't really have that structure. And I didn't even go to like a co-op or anything where I would meet like once a week. Like it was just straight up like everything was done at home or online.
Do you think the structure is really that needed though? Because I've heard a lot of arguments. I think about this a lot right now because my son being 3, he's going to start school soon. And like, not to get too political, we're not going to go down that road, but with school shootings, we do seriously wonder, like, man, like, do we consider a homeschool option? Because there really is like a genuine fear now that that's something that he could go through, even though the percentage is small. It's happening a lot.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I remember reading something where I'd have to go read it again, but like a lot of school was designed around basically making a good labor force.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
getting you used to these times, this structure, so you can go work at factories.
Exactly.
And then, you know, we were joking about AI, but I do think that so many careers are going to be automated that structure may not matter anymore, and that you might be better off being a homeschooled, out of the box, a little more free thinker, because you weren't thinking like, got to get here at this time, we do things this way, there's a bell that rings, we take lunch this time. Instead of, I mean, don't you think maybe you view the world a little more open because you didn't have that structure?
For sure. I wasn't necessarily saying it's a bad thing. It's just
Yeah.
different from what a lot of people have experienced. And I don't think people realize how much they're ingrained in like how public school has taught them how to be and how their experiences with other kids have affected them. But yeah, I definitely think that I don't think homeschooling is bad at all. I think there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. I think it's important to still like find a co-op or something where your kids at least meet once a week, or have some sort of academic structure and social.
What
life
I don't
with
think I
other
understand
kids.
what you mean by co-op.
So that's where like homeschool kids meet up with like teachers or something once or twice a week. So they're still doing like 1 or 2
okay.
days of school, but most of it is homeschooled.
Gotcha. Were y'all doing that in your homeschool?
We did not. But
Were you here in Texas when you were younger, or where?
yes,
Okay.
we've lived in Frisco, Texas, basically my whole life.
Okay. Well, they probably have that out there now, don't they? Frisco's like exploded.
Yeah, but Texas is one of the most like relaxed states for homeschooling. Like they don't have someone like come test the kids.
Yeah, we're also
and make
super relaxed in public schools too. Like,
yeah,
we're
they
not
don't
that
even
great with them.
care at all. They're like, you know what? Just homeschool your kids. We don't care what you do with them. Have fun.
Interesting. You know, the only thing I have that's even close to that is when I got my driver's license, they had basically like a homeschool option for that.
Oh yeah.
So like I didn't go to a driver's school or anything. Like we just filled out a paper that said I did the stuff I was supposed to do, and then I got my license.
Yeah.
I mean, we were doing it, but it was like there's no oversight on this at all.
Yeah.
So do you think if you have children in the future, you would want to homeschool them?
It really depends on what the world looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we only have one child right now, so that's a big conversation of like, are we going to have more, or do we want an only child? And because it's similar social issues, right?
Yeah.
Of, you know, is he going to get all of his social stuff from, you know, sports or whatever he decides to do, or I don't know. All your siblings were homeschooled though, right?
Yeah, me and my brother were both homeschooled.
Just the two of you?
Yeah, just
that's
two of
right.
us.
Well, why do you feel like you have social anxiety even though you were doing social things while you were being homeschooled?
I wouldn't necessarily say
Do you
that.
think you would have social anxiety even if you went to public school?
Possibly. I don't know. But the thing with a lot of the sports I did is I never really did team sports. So even though like I would see other kids at like races and competitions and stuff like that, I wasn't like constantly
Right.
interacting with other people other than my parents and my brother.
And you were super competitive, so you were telling them like,
course.
fuck off. Like that's interesting. I don't know. I think about it a lot. I don't know. Did your parents teach you, or did somebody else come in and help, or how did it work?
My parents plus some like online stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's various online resources like Khan Academy that help kind of.
Part of me wants my kid to not have any normal experience like that. Going to school, like to just be totally different. I would love for him to be like finished with school by the time he's 15 and just doing whatever he wants to do.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if I'm smart enough to push him through all of that either.
Yeah, it's a lot because there's a point where like my dad mostly taught us, and he was like stay-at-home dad. My mom worked. But he mostly taught us until it got to like a certain point where it was like, I'm dying.
Mm-hmm.
It got to a certain point where it was like I had to just do stuff online because he couldn't really.
Yeah. Don't worry. I've had that same cough for like 3 weeks.
Dying, I know.
Yeah.
Part of the other problem with being homeschooled is I have a garbage immune system because I didn't get all the public school sickness.
Yeah. I'm waiting for that to kick in. My son, ever since he started going to daycare, I mean, he went when he was like 6 or 7 months old. And it's like every couple of weeks we just pass around some illness. And it's
Yeah.
like, when does his immunity actually kick in where he
Yeah.
stops getting sick? But so you really have a weaker immune
Oh,
system?
I get sick all the time. Really? Yep.
Okay. I would think all the athletics would like make you stronger somehow.
Yeah,
I
I
know
would think
that's
so,
not
too.
how immunity works, but it's like I just feel that way.
Yeah, ever since I was a kid, I've like gotten sick all the time.
Mm.
My mom even like took me to doctors. They're like, "Oh, just how she is."
It's just how she is.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. The do you miss the cyclocross?
Yes, definitely. Because I'm still like following all my friends who do it on Instagram and stuff. So I like see their posts about the races, and I miss some parts of it, and I definitely don't miss some parts of it, like the getting up every day and riding my bike for 2 or 3 hours, and then going and doing weight training, and then all the watching what I eat and everything. It's a lot.
What was the average day?
Sorry. It definitely depends, because we would have a lot of different like training plans. So some days it would be like you only do an hour and a half, but you're doing like intervals. And some days you do what's called base miles, where you're like doing 2-3+ hours just at the same pace. And then a couple of days a week of weight training.
Are you self-coaching this or
No, I self-coached for a while, and then I had a coach for the last couple of years. I was doing it. Like once I turned professional, basically, I was like, okay, I should probably get a coach.
Yeah. So how long would a day of training be?
I would say probably like 5 or 6 hours on a long day.
Mm-hmm.
And then like on a rest day, just like an hour of an easy ride or something. But
How long do you think until you get back into it?
I don't know. I've thought about it. I've been like, I kind of miss it. But
Because you don't have to do it professionally, right? You can just
you can just
do it.
chill and do it. But I don't know. I feel like I got so burned out from doing it all the time that I just kind of needed like a clean break from it. And then I might get back into it at some point, but not right now.
I have delusions that, like I said, I've run a couple of marathons, and I love to cycle. And it's like I have these delusions that, like, maybe I'll get really good at this.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not going to, but with the marathon stuff specifically, it's like I have these lies that I tell myself, like, you could probably run like a sub 3 hour marathon. And my fastest one so far was like 5 hours and 45 minutes. It's like, I don't think you're going to do that, bud. But I don't know. There's something weird. Did you enjoy cyclocross, or was your experience like with the marathon stuff? Like, I really hate it. I hate it so much, but I can't stop doing it now. Like, I'm already signed up for the next 2, and I'm going to do it.
Yeah. I would say it's kind of a love-hate relationship where there would be, I don't know, I think it got to a point where I was just doing it because this is what I do, and I'm just doing it now. But
like, do you hate talking about it right now?
No, not really.
Okay,
But
okay.
there's definitely some sort of like high you get after like doing well in a race.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you were fairly good at it.
Yeah. I never like was the best, but
Yeah.
I was competitive.
I have a buddy. I didn't know him when he did this. I've only known him later, and I don't remember. He did road cycling, but he talked about when he went to college, he went to Europe to cycle over there, and he was like really, really good here. And he's like, he got there and he felt like it was just on such another level that he couldn't hang at all. And they were just basically they were razzing him. Like, he went from an incredible cyclist to like the worst guy on the team, and he was trying to keep up with them
For
nonstop.
sure. When I went to Europe, like all the Americans get their ass kicked when they go to Europe. Yeah.
That bad. What I want to ask a cyclist, then, a professional cyclist, what are your thoughts on someone like Lance Armstrong? Because depending on which day of the week you talk to me, I have a different opinion on it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I get swayed so easily in that.
Well, it's funny because if you look at the Tour de France, there's a giant gap in winners for Lance Armstrong because so many people were doping around that time that they couldn't decide on a winner. And then the next gap is just like World War II. It's like World War II and Lance Armstrong. I think from my experience as a professional racer, I think everybody at the top is doping.
Right.
Everybody at the top is doping.
Yeah, so it's like, what do you do at that point?
That's part of why I got so like pessimistic about it. I was like, okay, unless I want to start like taking drugs, then
I don't know if it's true, but I read several articles where they were they were, theorizing that like many of these top people, this was before like e-bikes were so popular, but they were talking about how like many of the top people, it's very likely they have like very small motors in their down tube.
People do that too.
You know what I'm saying?
They scan your bikes for motors like at the start line sometimes.
Yeah.
Drug testing, obviously.
Yeah.
I got drug tested for the first time when I was like 13.
Yeah, that's intense. But like how do you get, I don't know. Do you think like you should just say like, we know everyone's doping and we're just going to do that?
Yeah. I just think it should just be free for all.
Yeah. Did you see,
because people are going to do it anyways.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It seems pointless. Like you're never going to actually ban it. It's just how well can you cheat, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Because that's when I watch his documentary and all those things, it's like you start out hating the guy, and then after you learn all the facts, you're like, I don't know. He seems like he was kind of
everyone was doing it at that time.
It wasn't like he had an upper hand over everyone.
Exactly.
And then also it's like if they were all on the same playing field and not doping, I'm still convinced he would have kicked their ass.
Exactly, because not only was he taking the drugs, he was also better than everyone.
Yeah, like the doping can only take you so far. He was still incredible.
Exactly,
and then it was so nuts how quickly public opinion turns on him, right? And it's like he still raised millions and millions of dollars for his charity.
Yeah.
Like how many people did this little white lie actually benefit? But I don't know. I think a lot about with we don't have to get into it if you don't want to, but I don't know how to get around like trans athletes right now. It's such a again, depending on the argument I'm being told at the moment, it's like, yeah, I guess I see your point there, but
it is a very, very tricky topic. I had an experience of racing against somebody who was transgender, and
you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to.
I can.
Okay,
I might get canceled.
I don't want you to feel like I'm like cornering you or anything.
I think it's very just difficult because there's no good option for them right now. I don't think that it should be like transgender women can't do sports, but there needs to be like another category or something, or more strictly regulated rules about it, because there's too many cases of...
Well, I won't make anybody else say it, but I'll clearly say it's like there is a difference.
For sure.
There is a difference.
It's a biological fact.
I don't think there's anything wrong with acknowledging that and going like, okay, so how do we now include you where it's fair? And a part of me wonders, it's like, do you just do like an all-out open league?
Yeah.
Where you have like male, female, and then open league. And
I think I heard that like the UK is doing something like that.
Really?
And I can't remember what sport it was. But for example, my brother and I, we both raced. For a long time, because I'm 2 years older, I was faster than him. He hit puberty. He was way faster than me all of a sudden. And it's just because he's biologically a man. And it's not... It's just a fact. And I know that they have different testosterone levels and stuff, but it's still it's impossible to tell if it's fair.
Yeah, that's the tricky part. And then people go on... it's like, there's outliers, right? Like there's going to be the phenom female athlete who is far superior than this guy who's just not athletic at all, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and if you focus on those extremes, it's like, of course there are some women who are going to be stronger, faster, and more athletic than men.
Yeah.
Right? So we're not saying that, but it's like the average. It's like there are a lot of advantages that you just cannot deny.
For sure.
And then just like female athletes, in my opinion, and take my opinion with a grain of salt because I'm still always just learning about it, right? But it's like clearly there are more of them that it seems like they're getting robbed from this. Like there's not a lot of women transitioning to men going into male sports and just dominating
For sure.
and destroying them, right? So it feels like there's just an imbalance there. But I don't know what the answer is. It's a fascinating conversation. And I wish people wouldn't get as heated about it so that you could actually have the conversation.
Exactly.
Of
it's
well, what do you think we can do where it's legitimately fair and you're not excluded, but, you're also not just coming in here and breaking a record.
Exactly. It's you're not going to make progress or be able to change things in a fair way if people get so offended anytime you even bring up the topic. And... yeah, I agree that it's just kind of a shitty situation because, there's no really place for specifically female transgender athletes.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue, right? It's specifically men transitioning to women. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like, I don't want to tell you, don't be this person. That's not what we're doing here. But yeah, it's fascinating. But it's a tough conversation to have.
It is, yeah.
And I want to have, I wish I knew about 10 or 15 transgendered athletes to see if I could talk to them about it. But it seems to get so heated so quickly.
For sure.
Yeah. My generation, the heated topic was and I also grew up in a small town, so we might have been behind other people at the time. I should preface that, right? But I remember it being heated about interracial relationships and just being gay in general, but specifically gay marriage. It was all that was off the table.
Yeah.
There were adults in my life who were it's just not right for people of different races. They should think of the children and the hardships they're going to have. It was conversations like that. And so I know that all the transgender athlete stuff is going to sound that way 20 years from now when we sort it all out. And we're just in the mud with it right now, trying to figure out what the right path is. But it's so fascinating.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is, but I think something needs to be different than what it is now.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what that answer is, but...
So if I'm understanding you correctly, ban everyone.
Yes,
That's
just ban everyone. No one should be allowed to do sports.
Mm-hmm. Getting back to the homeschool thing, do you feel like people pigeonhole you with that topic a lot? Do people want to talk to you about being homeschooled all the time?
Yes, I get a lot of jokes about it. People would be like,
that sounds cringy already.
Yeah.
What's the go-to joke?
People assume I'm sheltered and I don't know things and
yeah.
Especially around topics of drugs or sex or whatever. They think I don't know certain things because oh, you're the homeschool kid. I'm
yeah, you're Amish.
Yeah, exactly. I'm okay, I did have unlimited access to the internet.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest misconception then about being homeschooled?
Ooh, that's a good question. There's a lot of misconceptions. A lot of people assume that my family was extremely religious because a lot of homeschoolers are.
I would make that assumption, hands down. Yeah,
that was not how my family was at all. But that's a really common assumption.
I didn't think about it till you just said it, but I definitely would have connected those dots on I would have been they're probably super religious. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
They either think you're super smart or you do nothing at all.
Which one are you?
Day. I think I'm somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. Oh man. I don't know. I think that you guys all have a little bit of an upper hand. I don't know why. I think you view stuff differently.
I think there are definitely some advantages to it. From a young age, I was pretty much taught to make my own schedule and make myself do things, and I didn't have that institution forcing me to do it necessarily. I had my parents, but a lot of times they would just be go do this.
Yeah,
have fun.
Did you ever tell them I don't want to do this? I want to go to school.
I don't think so. I think my brother did that at one point because then he went back to school for third grade and then was oh, never mind, I want to be homeschooled again.
Oh, so they let him go back when he asked?
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, they were pretty adamant about homeschooling us because they thought it was better.
They thought you were going to get a better education out of it?
Yeah, because you can kind of take time to learn things that you actually want to learn about and pursue things that you actually want to pursue, and you're not just kind of spoon-fed everything by school.
Yeah. That's a big reason why we consider it in Texas, is because we know Texas books. Texas schools purchase the most books, so they have a big say over a lot of the curriculum that gets taught because they're going to purchase so many of them, and the publishers want to sell books. And then that kind of influences the rest of the country's books as well. But Texas in particular, it's they have a lot of unique rules about how they can teach or what they don't have to teach. I think we can still do abstinence only in sex ed. I think you're allowed to not talk about it, right? And just little things like that. But then I also wonder, it's is that going to be better than my dumb ass trying to teach my kid?
True.
You know what I mean?
That's why I think, like I said earlier, that it's important to have some sort of structure. If it's just a meeting once a week or online or something. It's hard to tell. There's pros and cons to everything.
Was it expensive to homeschool?
No, not really. Why would it be?
I don't know. Public school's pretty much free.
True.
So I didn't know if you had to how much you actually have to purchase to be
Yeah,
a homeschooled kid.
I don't really, I mean, I wasn't paying for them, obviously, but I don't remember, like, having to buy any online curriculums. I think we use a lot of free resources, but I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
My mom could be like, no, I spent thousands of dollars on your education.
It's like it was $30,000 a year.
Yeah.
It was basically private school. That's interesting. What do you feel like was what did you dislike the most about it? Other than social?
Close to say that's the main thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. The social thing is the biggest part. I think I wish I did have a little bit of that structure. Because we were pretty chill and like, oh yeah, just learn this, do this, whatever. And there was no like structure of you have to do this, then you have to do this, then you have to do this. That was kind of something I had to make myself. But I kind of wish I had a little bit more of that.
Well, so I can't figure out if your parents are like engineers or if they're hippies. You know what I mean? Like,
so, yeah, they're an interesting group of people. Yeah, they're very. I think my mom and dad kind of disagreed on a lot of things, and my dad really wanted us to just like let them figure out what they want to do, let them learn stuff, and then my mom was like, they should get their education.
who usually won?
I still don't know to this day who's winning any argument.
Yeah, that's a good point. If we had those types of arguments, it would put a lot of stress on my wife and I's relationship.
Yeah.
So would you do it all over again homeschooled?
I think so, but I would like to be in some sort of homeschool program, at least, like I mentioned earlier.
Like co-ops and those sorts of things.
For sure.
Well, do they have... I mean, they've got to have like meetups and stuff now, right?
Yeah, they do. They have them. My
like,
parents
there's
just
there's
never...
like Kyle Fest, where you go if your name's Kyle.
Yeah.
Or like twins and all that kind of stuff.
No, they do have them. I think just my parents never like enrolled us in anything.
Yeah. It's really interesting. The social thing's really interesting because like there's a lot of cultures right now who are having similar issues, but it's because people are becoming so competitive with education, even in public schools, that they have no social life either. I think Korea and China, they have those issues, and possibly Japan.
Yeah, it's definitely not just a homeschool issue for sure, but it's kind of something that just naturally comes up being homeschooled.
I want to know, I have dealt with a little bit of anxiety. Not much, right? When we had our kid, that was when I really had my first experience with actually understanding what anxiety was and feeling it. And it was like a combination of things. It was having a child. We had them right when the pandemic started. I realized I'd had some like PTSD from, we were in our home during what we thought was a tornado, but it was just like high winds. But like we were in there while the roof was being ripped off and the windows were busted out. So I was getting really anxious like when storms would roll through. So there were times where it's like, heavy thunderstorms are coming through. There's tornado warnings. I'm stressed about this newborn baby. There's COVID. And so I would start having panic attacks and all sorts of anxiety. And then I got medication for it. But before that, like if you talk to me about anxiety, I was like, just fucking get over it. Right?
Yeah.
So what is your social anxiety for you? Like what is your feeling of being anxious?
I feel like I don't know what to say to people. Like I'm really bad at small talk. I know everyone is, but like I feel so awkward. I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say. And I don't know. It's a weird feeling.
Is it just like an uncomfortable? Is it like a fear? Or is it a panic?
It feels like everyone else was given a manual on how to talk to people, and I did not receive that manual. That's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, you do all these social things, though.
I've gotten better at it. Specifically, improv has reduced my social anxiety a lot. Because that's a lot of what you're doing in improv is having conversations. So
what was your go-to then before that? Were you just quiet or were you like just saying weird things or like...
I think I just wouldn't really talk to anyone unless they like actively like came up to me and started up a conversation. But when I'm in like a large group of people, I'll just kind of like be in the corner.
Yeah. We have a friend. I don't know if it's that or if they'll always look like they're having a bad time. But they're having a phenomenal time. And you're like, everything okay? And they're like, everything's great. I'm like, you good? And they're like, yeah, this is a lot of fun. I'm like, all right.
Love sitting in the corner.
Yeah. And so, but what did you ever think like, I got to get over this?
I figured it would kind of happen naturally. I've gotten better about it for sure. I'm probably always just going to be like a nervous person that's a little bit.
But you don't
socially
appear
awkward.
like you have social anxiety.
Yeah, I guess not. I'm good at faking it, I guess.
On the inside, you're freaking out.
Yeah, stressing out about this podcast right now.
Oh, for real?
No.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
a little bit, but
No, this is nothing. Don't worry.
yeah, I've gotten a lot better at it for sure, but it'll probably always be there in some capacity.
Well, did you have similar feelings when you first started taking the stage as a stand-up?
Yes. The first time I did an open mic, I was terrified.
I've never stepped on a comedy stage. And the closest I got, are you familiar with Kill Tony?
Yeah.
I signed up for that when they came through Fort Worth
yeah?
years ago. Yeah, well, me and friends were drinking before the show, and we found out we'd all secretly been like practicing a minute, and it was like, well, if you sign up, I'll sign up. And then as soon as we got in there, it was terrifying, and I was like, this is the biggest mistake of my life.
Yeah.
Like, thankfully, none of us got called, but it did give me like a huge appreciation of just how much it takes to get up there. Because as a musician, it was different. I play guitar. There's a microphone in front of you on a stand. You're holding your guitar. Like it feels like there's things between you, and then you're also up there with other people.
Yeah.
So it's not so bad. But going up there alone, like I'll go to the Hyenas open mic sometimes just to watch and see, and it's like that's a brutal room sometimes.
It is.
It's brutal.
Don't go to that open mic anymore because I was traumatized from it.
What was the first open mic you went to? I think you told me already.
The first one I went to was the Addison Improv.
Okay, that's a good open mic.
Yeah,
right?
that's the only one I knew of because that club is so famous. So I just went there, and then somebody didn't show up, so I got to do it. And I don't know. Looking back, I don't know how I just showed up to an open mic and like did my first 5 minutes because that's like kind of terrifying. But
it's super terrifying.
Yeah.
Did you? Do you remember the moment when you decided like I'm gonna do stand up? Because you did that before improv, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think my parents kind of convinced me to try it because they thought I'd be good at it because I wanted to do acting and stuff like that. And I was a little bit hesitant because I was like, I don't even know how this works. But when I started doing it, I was like, I kind of like this. Like, and it was something that just kind of grew on me as I kept doing it. Like getting those laughs off of something you wrote is like such a cool feeling.
Yeah, but when did because it's one thing to talk about it, but then to decide like, fuck it, I'm going to go do this open mic. Do you remember that moment? I'm very curious. I ask a lot of different comics that because I'm very curious what the turning point was when it's like, tonight's the night.
Yeah.
I'm going to go do this.
So I went to the Addison Improv open mic just to watch the first time. And the next time I went there and I was like, well, if somebody no-shows, like I kind of was on the standby. And then the host was like, hey, we have a spot open. And I was like, I guess this is happening. So
so you just got to go for it, huh?
Yeah. I did have like 5 minutes that were like written ahead of time. So
yeah.
I didn't just go like unprepared. But
How long did you write? Did you have written material when you first went to watch?
Yes, I had been writing like some material
so you were already kind of geared
probably
up
a
for
month or two. Yeah.
When you watched the first one, did you think like, oh, fuck, I can do this? Or was it more intimidating?
Yes, because there wasn't a lot of people there and it was very like a chill, like they were all like, oh, whatever, we don't care about this vibe. I was like, oh, that doesn't seem so bad. But when I first got up there myself, I was like, oh, this is terrifying.
Yeah. Did you think you could actually be funny though at the start?
I was afraid of nobody laughing at anything, but I did get a laugh like pretty early on that kind of like relaxed me a little bit. Looking back, it was a terrible joke, but it got a laugh. And yeah, I think getting those first few laps like really kind of put me at ease a little bit. But.
I don't know how y'all do it. I don't, and I'm like an outgoing person. I'll do a lot of stuff, and that still seems like one of the most vulnerable things you can do, like in an artistic realm.
Yeah. I don't know how I
would
just
think
did
the
it.
only thing that's more vulnerable than that, honestly, is like you're the model for the nude painting class.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because you're all going up there, and you're having to like, if you're not telling things about yourself that are vulnerable, it's really not going to be funny, right?
Yeah.
Like you have like, I shouldn't say hate, but I don't prefer comedy that's like just the like. Jokey, like I don't know, like I like to get to know the person with their comedy, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you could start talking about yourself and then everyone just hate it.
Yeah, exactly.
And just get absolutely no laughs. I still don't know how y'all do it, but I'm glad y'all do.
It was definitely terrifying the first few times I did it. I've kind of become desensitized, but it was terrifying for a while.
What do you think we'll kind of wrap it up here. But what do you think is what do you think is your reason for wanting to do comedy? Like, why do you think you want to tell jokes for people?
Well,
because it's a weird thing to do.
It is a very weird thing to do.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about like, I want to write jokes and I want to do this for these people because?
Yes and no. I've always been someone who's been interested in like artistic things. Like I always drew stuff when I was a kid and made stupid sketch comedy with my brother and stuff like that. So I've always been kind of interested in the arts, but I think what draws me to comedy particularly is, we talked about this a little bit with improv earlier, is just how like in the moment it is. And like live theater as well, just how like you're doing this for these people and creating this experience for the audience that, I mean, they may or may not remember, but in a way you're kind of affecting them in some way. Like if you made them laugh at your joke, like you can see the response immediately to something you wrote. And I think that's kind of a powerful thing. And you can see how you affect somebody, like, oh, I made that person laugh. That, like, it makes you feel good. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
Yeah,
but
totally. I think that's the one thing I'm always going to be jealous of y'all about, is that that's got to be an incredible feeling.
For sure.
When you see someone like genuinely like a belly laugh at something you said.
Yeah.
And it's like, and you just made their evening more fun, and like they're probably going to go to work on Monday and be like, oh, I heard this joke. You got to, and it's
exactly.
like, that's really, really great. I'll always be jealous of y'all that y'all do that. I don't think I'll ever try comedy.
Yeah, I honestly don't go around recommending it to people.
Well, I like just having a fan perspective. You know what I mean? It's like now that you've directed something, you'll always watch things differently.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like
I've seen a couple of like plays since then, and I'm watching it with like a director's eye, and you once you're, I don't know, I see what you mean when you're on the other side of it.
Yeah. Kind of like, I love music, but there's always a part of me who, it's like, you've played it so long and you're just like, oh, yeah, I see what they're trying to do there.
Yeah.
It's like, instead of just enjoying it.
Yeah.
But
doing comedy has like almost ruined comedy for me, because I also work at a comedy club. So I see so much comedy and I'll be like, you suck, bro.
That's true. Yeah. I've always wondered if, like, it's a good move to work at a comedy club. Right, because you're around it, and it's like you learn a lot, even just by being there. For sure. But yeah, does it burn you out? You're just hearing comedy all the time.
It's both. Like,
or can
sometimes
you just tune it out?
Yeah, sometimes I'm just not even paying attention, because I mean I'm a waiter there, so I'm taking orders and I'm busy a lot of times. But I do get opportunities to see some cool shows and stuff like that. Like we have like a jazz night every month, and it's pretty cool to like. I don't like actively go to jazz shows, but I get to experience something different. And I
got to get up to that club more often, because I think I've been there 2 times and I really liked it.
It's a cool vibe.
It is, and I think it's crazy how fortunate we are that we have so many clubs here.
For sure,
and so it's like I feel obligated. Like you need to make time to get to these other ones as well, just to support them. Otherwise, they're not going to stay there.
Yeah.
I think Comedy Arena will be fine though. There's so much going on in McKinney. I think they'll build an audience real fast. But I love that they have the upstairs and downstairs. And because they started doing small shows in the downstairs area, right? Yeah, they do the open mic downstairs. Oh, it's an open mic down there. Yeah. Okay. I was going to ask you questions, but you work there, so I'm not going to do that. Well, listen, I know you're newer into it still, but I really love where you're going with your stuff. Thank you. I really hope you keep going that route with it. Like, just stay weird. Just keep going with all the random stuff that you do. I think it's really, really funny. How do you prefer people to follow you online so they can come see your shows? You can follow me on Instagram at Bridget Tooley, Facebook Bridget Tooley. It's my name. It's my name everywhere. All right. There's not too many Bridget Tooleys in the world. Yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you so much for coming on. I can't wait to see where it goes. Yeah, of course. I had a lot of fun. The I'm a Fan of podcast, music, comedy, and more.